I can tell it's going to be a good show. There's been lots of off-air laughing and frivolity. Daniel Carrington, you are in a sassy mood today.
He's funny today.
Yeah, he's giving Dr. David Tabrett some stick here. I thought David looked really dapper in his suit jacket today.
David's just rubbing me the wrong way today.
Oh, dear.
Oh, goodness.
I'll move over the other side of the room.
We've had jokes about his age, that you're standing, he needs to sit.
Yes, I'm feeling it.
You remember why you're here, David?
Yes, this is...
Now we're being silly. Now, what's your topic today for Pet Chat?
Well, if I get time, I wanted to update, because we were just talking about technology for fitness. You can do the same for your pets.
Oh, my, really?
Yes, and they have clear veterinary applications, so we could talk about that.
Ridiculous.
Fantastic.
And Daniel, what are we chatting about today?
Well, to be able to use that technology properly, you need to make sure you have the right pet for your family. So that's what we're going to talk about.
I love that you two have really teamed with the theme
It's like we've rehearsed.
Amazing. How to choose the perfect pet for your family, because, Danny, what suits me may not suit you, and vice versa may not suit David, so we've really got to pick it carefully.
The worst thing is taking a beautiful puppy home and then thinking a few months down the track, oh my, we've made the wrong decision. It's too active, too smart for our family, or like we can't handle this, and then having to think about rehoming. So doing the research about what breed really does help.
All right, well, we're going to actually chat to Chris Murphy, who's a behaviouralist and obviously knows a lot about this.
Welcome to the show, Chris. Thank you for joining us about this topic, and I think it's great that we can have you on air because you are a dog behaviouralist and can talk about what is the right type of pet for the family. It's best to be able to suit the family with the pet or the puppy that they get so that we don't have any long-term problems and we know what we're getting. So, yes, welcome to the show. I guess the first question I had was, so a common thing is a family with children, they want to get a pet. What would you recommend a family with children look for in terms of breeds of dogs?
Yeah, well, in terms of dogs as pets for children, my recommendation is more of a medium-sized dog. Most people probably think go small, easier for the child to handle, but I think things more like your spaniels, so Cocker Spaniels, Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. They're still a small breed in that 10 to 15 kilo usually, but they're not too big where the child can't handle the dog. But not too small where we could have accidental things like the little guy falling out or getting stepped on, and their bones obviously aren't as tough as what something a bit bigger would be. So I prefer people with like smaller children if they're sort of getting their first pet and want to pick a dog. I'd go that medium 10 to 15 kilo range. Because
some of the smaller breeds, like even the toy breeds, even like a Chihuahua, could be also highly strung, which is maybe not what you want with a young family with young kids. Is that right?
Yes, correct. And obviously, if you're 2 or 3 kilos, something that's 10 kilos looks quite big to you, standing over you, 20 kilos. So, they can sometimes get a bit more intimidated, especially if the children are quite excited to touch puppy and they come in quick, and such a small little dog can see that as a bit of a threat, yes.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with that.
That's a good point. What about if the family has slightly older kids? We're talking about 10, 11, 12s. They're an active family. They do lots of things on the weekends, even after school. What kind of breed of dogs would work with a family like that?
So certain breeds that probably would work well is sitting around your gun dogs and your farm type breeds. So gun dogs being a bit bigger, they're sort of in your 20 to 30 realm of weight kilos, and sort of they're your Weimaraners, your Dalmatians, those bigger sort of bushy walking type dogs, run down the beach. They like to use their nose and things like that, so they like to get out and about. And a few of your farm sort of breeds like your cattle dogs, your Kelpies, your Border Collies, they're also highly active. They want to go where their nose takes them. So they need an active family or active couple that's willing to do an hour or two of exercise a day physically. And also we need to mentally stimulate them as well. Otherwise we're going to get dogs digging out or jumping fences and such, because they are quite a smart dog, so they do need brain toys and things like that, or little games that you can play with them to keep their brain moving as well as exercising their body.
Because, Denny, that's a common problem that comes up on this show, as David's nodding to, is that the dogs are getting bored during the day, those active dogs that might not be getting the exercise they need, and that can cause havoc for everyone, including the dog.
Well, the issue we have is those energetic dogs can also be quite smart, quite intelligent. And I know with a Weimaraner, they can learn 140 different words.
Wow.
So if they don't get that mental stimulation, they're going to use that for bad things, like digging up holes, chewing up furniture, chewing up shoes. And that's the problem you want to avoid. So if you have an active dog like that, you need an active family.
So what about an inactive family, or for an older couple?
Yes.
Yeah, a bit of a quieter family. Yeah, so things like your spaniels are good as well. They're in that 10 to 15, so they don't need a lot of exercise, just a little bit. But then you've also got things like your bulldog breeds are very popular. Your British, your Frenchies and such, your Aussies.
Like the bulldogs, the British bulldogs just love to lay around. Is that
Yeah. Their hobbies are like napping and such. So
About greyhounds.
Yeah, that's right. So they're good for people that don't mind going for a walk around the block, maybe twice, but then rest for the rest of the day. They will be happy to do that.
They're the ones you can also take to the cafe, walk to the cafe, have a coffee, sit them down and come back home.
I'm liking the sound of this.
Yeah, not bad. And if you're wanting more of a bigger style, even though you're a quiet family, some dogs like Great Danes do make good pets for certain people. They are another dog there, even though they're quite large. They do require a little bit of exercise, but they also like laying around and such. So some people do enjoy a nice big dog that lays around and lounges around with them, and Great Danes are good for that as well, those sort of breeds.
You also, Sarah, mentioned greyhounds. I mean, they are lounge lizards as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, make great pets in regards to that.
They're quite calm, aren't they?
What about if you're a senior couple or a senior single person and you want a companion?
Yeah, that's sort of where I think toys come in really well, or your toy breeds. So your things like your little Silkies or Shih Tzus or Pomeranians, they're nice and small, nice and compact. They'll give you the love that you're looking for. A little bit of exercise still. Obviously, they are a dog, so they do need exercise, but minimum exercise. They don't want to go on the 1K run. They sort of just want to plod around the backyard, around the neighbourhood. They're quite happy.
And I also think with them, like if you're a little bit hard of hearing like David...
Sorry.
They get into that higher register when they bark, yeah.
They will let you know if someone's at the door, if someone's snooping around. So they are a really good alarm dog.
They are really good alarm systems. They really are, yes. And things like your Jack Russells and Foxies, they're also a little dog, but a bit more active. So if you're an active senior person that doesn't mind going for, a bit of a walk in the morning, half an hour in the morning, these guys will want to come and do that with you as well. So.
Cool.
And the last one I have is just if there is a family member prone to allergies, because some dogs, people can't have because they have allergies. What about that?
Yeah, so what's been happening a lot in the last sort of 20 years is crossing the poodle with a lot of different breeds, which create certain breeds which we all are familiar with as oodles. So you've got things like your Labradoodles, your Groodles, your Shoodles. I could go on. There are many.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything that ends in oodle will have a poodle in it, and poodle, they have the wool per se over a hair, not the coat. So they don't shed. So they're non-shedding and they're low allergenic, and that's why over these sort of years people have been putting the poodle in other breeds and such, so people can have a certain dog that looks a certain way, but it has that poodle coat, so it helps with the allergies. And because of that, you can almost get an oodle in any size or colour these days. So.
Well, thank you for that.
Lots of options for
lots
everybody.
of options, and I think it's worthwhile to do that research before getting a pet.
Do the research before you, because it's a lifelong investment.
It is.
Certainly
It
the
is.
life of your pet anyway.
Yep.
Now, David, we want to look at pet tech with Pet Chat.
So there's a number of things. We've got tech for ourselves, right? Like you could wear a fitness watch that'll keep track of your steps, or how many stairs you climbed, and maybe even your heart rate and everything. We can get the same thing for our pets.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
and
a dog watch?
Well, they don't wear it on their leg. They're actually, the most common one that I've seen is a collar that has a kind of a computer chip, I guess.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of ways we could use that. Now, I guess it could be just for amusement, see what your pet's up to. But you can actually get them where you can track your pet through the day and then get the details on, your phone and go, oh, look, he went out to the water bowl and then he went back over to the fence and hang on, how did he get down the road?
So that's just going to calculate his steps, or is that going to tell us?
Well, it can actually track you could have a little map of your house and track where he goes.
Wow.
So when we want to come back to, how does this apply to veterinary applications? What we have seen is that we have now got technology that we can use post-operatively. So let's say your dog has cruciate surgery or something that can measure how well they're weight bearing, how much movement they're having, that they're getting enough but not too much exercise.
Yep.
And so a lot of the time we might say to pet owners after surgery, you need to keep them restricted. And people say, well, he's in this, and we can't see their house. So we're like, oh, he's in that room. That sounds all right. But we don't really know, is there stairs or whatever?
Yes.
So they've actually now got this, with this technology, we can actually see what your pet's up to.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very...
And just to make sure that they're not overdoing it.
Is there a video component on there as well?
Well, that's the other thing now that we can get, of course. Now, you might know that you actually can get doorbell cameras, that when people hit your doorbell, the camera comes on, and you can see it on your phone.
You can decide whether you're going to hide under the lounge or actually answer the door.
Well, you may not even be home. And you can talk to people. Well, we've got the same thing with our pets. So you can now get cameras that will talk to your pet and you're not home. So it could be you have a check-in a couple of times a day. And there is even one I've seen which works for cats where the actual equipment, and it's like a cube, has a camera, a speaker, and it's got a little laser light. So it can flash around and the cat chases it because they love to chase laser lights. So you can play with your cat and get your cat moving while you're at work or, down at getting groceries, something like that.
Oh, it's just becoming too easy, isn't it?
Right. Well, the next thing is you can actually get modified feeders that are computer controlled, and you can set the feeding station to deliver the right amount of food at the right time for your pet. But not only that, it actually tracks how much your pet eats.
So obviously this is useful if you need your pets to be on a specific calorie-controlled diet.
Right, exactly. When does my pet eat? Because a lot of the time as a vet, I would talk to clients and say, well, when do you feed them? And does he eat it like in 10 minutes or is it all gone? How long does it last? And people say, oh, we feed them all day. These things we need to have information on. So you might say, well, hang on, David, I've got 2 dogs or a dog and a cat. How do I know that one's not going to eat the other one's food? Well, it's actually controlled that the food is only dispensed based on the collar that the pet is wearing for that pet.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And you can now get, I've seen this one as well, similar sort of thing where, if you have a doggy door.
Yes.
So the doggy door could actually be activated or closed based on which pet is going through it.
Oh, so you may not want a particular pet to go through.
Right.
Oh, my
And so you could actually say, well, Fluffy has to stay inside, but Bozo can go outside. And you can actually set up the doggy door to allow that to happen. And you can keep track as well of how often they go in and out.
Are you seeing this more and more? Are people using this technology, or is it still quite unaffordable to the, average Joe Blow?
Well, the feeding stations have been around for a little while, and a lot of people are getting them. You're probably going to spend a couple of $100s for that sort of thing. The tracking for mobility and exercise, those vary in price, kind of like when you go to buy a fitness watch for yourself.
Yeah, sure.
Do you want the basics? Do you want the whiz-bang? They come with different technologies.
Okay, we'll continue our tech talk shortly. We will go to the phones now. Hello, Helen in Barnsley. You've got a 4-year-old puppy, but you think that puppy's got a bit of anxiety.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Well, it seems to be the only time when I go out that if I don't remember to close my bedroom doors, I end up with all my clothes back in the lounge room and him laying on them.
Yes. Yes.
It's doing the washing for you.
Well, Helen, you're absolutely right. It's a behaviour that relates to separation anxiety. So if you're not there, what's the next best thing?
Oh, probably my clothes.
That's your clothes, because the smell is right there. So you're absolutely right. It is an anxiety-related issue. And so for separation anxiety, it varies as to how much intervention we do need to provide here. There's a couple of things I would suggest, and we always kind of take a multi approach to these things. We don't want to just rely on one single factor. So one of the things is trying to get your pet comfortable with you leaving the house and being away for a period of time. And so certainly making sure that you close the bedroom door. That's kind of necessary in this situation. And then what you need to do is just say to them, okay, I'm leaving. Give them a toy that would keep them occupied. A good idea is those things like the Kongs that have, got food. You put food inside them and freeze them, and then you get them out. They would vary in how long you want to do that for. But what you do is you leave, maybe even just go to the front fence, and then you come back. Now, every time you do this, don't make the return that you're overwhelming, saying, well, good dog, and because you don't want your return to be bigger than being away. Okay, right. So when you come back into the house, you just need to basically ignore them for a period of time until they kind of go, oh, I'm not getting anything from you. I know it sounds counterintuitive because we're always happy when we come home to see our pets.
I was just thinking that's how I greet my husband when I come home. So
husbands are a different breed.
Oh, okay, all right, sure.
Yeah,
This works better on.
I was going to say the same thing.
This works better.
We're good at this. We've got this. We just need to treat the dogs the same way.
Right. Ignore the husband. Ignore the pet.
So it's a non-event. Is that right,
so,
David?
Yes, non-event. And so what's happening? And then you just gradually. So you go, say, to the front fence, and then you come back. No reaction. Okay, and then we want to go a bit further, and then come back. Maybe hop in the car and drive around the block.
Yes, Mummy's talking about you.
She wants to be involved.
Thought you were talking to me there, Helen. So when we do this, what we're doing is we're getting the dog to go, you know what? Actually, you leaving and coming back, that's just part of the day. It's all ordinary. So the other thing I mentioned was about having toys or food, Kongs, things like that. That keeps them occupied so that basically when you leave, that's when we get the food Kong. And so they're kind of excited for you to go because, if you go, there's something good's going to happen. And if we actually then get to the point where it is destructive, the separation anxiety, and I've had circumstances where pets have run through plate glass windows, they've pulled blinds off the wall and things like that, destroyed furniture. In those circumstances, that's a dog that's in pain and they need to be treated with medication for the anxiety. So behavioural training, you leaving and coming back, using a replacement toy like a Kong, all of those things. And then if it really escalates, then you probably would have to look at medication. But hopefully the point is we don't want it to escalate.
Yeah, there's a few steps that hopefully will be effective beforehand. Well, the very best of luck, Helen. Now, David, I get very excited for Dog of the Week. And
this is a double.
It's a double whammy.
Double dog.
Yeah. Skippy and Rocky. And for me, there's just nothing better than looking at a Jack Russell. Well, there is, looking at two. They're just the happiest little dogs, aren't they?
They can, and you can tell by their tail.
They've always got the wagging tails, don't they? Well, Skippy and Rocky, they're 8-year-old male Jack Russells with the waggling tails. They are happy boys and they are looking for their forever home due to no fault of their own. I think this is the hardest thing where, they've been great dogs and companions and for whatever reason, circumstances, they now need to be rehomed. They have always been together, so really it'd be lovely to keep them together because they are best mates. Ideally together. Both Rocky and Skippy have spent their life outside, so they would love a home with a daily walking buddy, a gardening companion, and someone looking for an adorable coffee date. We were talking about this a bit earlier on. To sit on your lap in the sunshine. Now, Rocky is the cuddly lap dog of the pair, while Skippy loves to fetch. So you can be sitting there having your coffee, throwing the ball for Skippy and giving Rocky a cuddle, and they'll love it. Going for a walk is their highlight. They're very social. They love getting pats from the neighbours, and they love a good sniff. So at night they sleep quietly in their crate outside, but it would be nice to maybe move the crate inside. It is getting cold. I don't like the thought of them outside. So would suggest a home with children over 6, as they do get excited and they are jumpy. They're just beautiful. They do live with 2 young children at the moment and a large breed dog. No problems there. So if you would like to have a look at these 2 dogs, then please head to 2nurfm.com.au.
Did you say they're 8 years of age? Because they look like puppies.
They do look like puppies, don't they? Yeah, 8 years of age.
Those photos are amazing.
They're good-looking dogs.
And those photos have not been photoshopped to remove blemishes.
I don't think so. Or wrinkles.
Or no wrinkles.
Or anything like that.
Yeah, I think they're fantastic.
They are great little dogs. There's a little bit of grey developing around the
We've all
snout.
got that,
yeah.
Sarah.
Well, that's why we die every 2 weeks, isn't it? Hey, look, let's go to the phones. We're revealing too much information here. Tony in Maryland. Now, your family is living in Katara. They have a young Staffy, and apparently this little pup is destroying everything. Sorry for laughing.
Correct.
Now, how old's the Staffy, Tony?
He's just about 13 months old now.
13 months old. So you've basically got a late teenager, young adult dog who is now too full of energy. What sort of stuff, where is the damage happening when is it happening?
Well, the latest update was this morning. My son-in-law put a video on Facebook. He virtually made wood chips out of his dog kennel.
Oh, wow.
He ripped it apart. It's just tiny pieces all over the back veranda. Before that, he destroyed 2 lots of garden outdoor furniture.
Yes, yes.
And so on and so forth. Talking about Kongs earlier, you were.
Yep.
They're supposed to be indestructible. He's destroyed 3 of those.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Because Staffies are tough, though.
Well,
they're all muscle, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got strong jaws.
He knocks me off my feet. I love him to bits. But they've had him earlier on in his life. When they first got him, they took him to specialised dog training. It wouldn't help because he kept on jumping on everyone, knocking us over. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I mean, he's not my dog. I love him to bits. I used to look after their last Staffy. I can't have this one because whenever they go away because he's so boisterous.
Oh,
yeah,
so he's
and
a handful.
there's some dogs, I guess it's like people, we've all got individual personalities. And so when we talk about things like separation anxiety and things like that, we can basically becomes a diagnosis that we're applying. And so I think this scenario is one where we do need a diagnosis, and it really depends on probably having someone to come and look at the environment and look at what's happening, what are the possible triggers there, and what are some of the underlying behaviours that are seen when he's not destroying things, what the rest of his behaviour is like. Because once we actually start to dig into this, and this underlines one of the important points, it's quite complex, as I said, very much like people, in that we see so much variability. And I think where we can say for some dogs, well, this is clearly separation anxiety, to me, just even that brief background that you've given me, Tony, says that there's a bit more complexity here. Is it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was only overnight. I mean, the family's inside asleep.
Yes. So what's he doing and why is he doing
when
it?
they got up earlier this morning, they sort of, every time they come out onto their back veranda, which is attached, it's part of the house. He's only a screen door away from his family.
Yes.
Every time they come outside, there's something destroyed. He ripped out the gas barbecue cord and chewed it to bits.
Oh my goodness!
A couple of weeks ago, he's ripped off chewed up the wheels on the barbecue. You name it, he's done it, and he gets so much exercise because the kids are the my grandchildren are 11 and 10 respectively. They play with him every afternoon when they come home from school. They love him.
Yeah. So apart from, just trying to get to the crux of this and work out a plan, which, as I suggested, I think we need someone to be on site for that problem. And I would be speaking or getting your son-in-law then to talk to their veterinarian about there are people who can actually come out and do that consultation.
Right.
But obviously, the costs of all of these things with the furniture and the gas, I mean, that can be dangerous as well. So, I think it's probably better to try and get on top of this with getting someone out to
help.
Yeah. Good luck with it, Tony, because obviously he's great with the kids. He's just going into this, destructive, or whether he's bored or whatever the pattern may be. So fingers crossed that gets sorted. Let's go to Patrick now, who's at Rathmines. You've got a puppy as well with behavioural problems.
I've actually got two of my neighbours' dogs that appear to be a problem for us. Unfortunately, they bark to get inside the neighbour's house, and they seem to know that once they bark, and they keep it up for at least an hour, maybe even more, and then they're let inside. I was just wondering how we could actually combat that. They're fantastic people, and I think that they're probably just not used to the dogs, how to control the behaviour.
How to do that, yeah. So you said that there's two dogs, and are they young or older dogs?
One's a fairly young dog.
Yes.
Another one's around about 4 years old.
Okay. And so...
I think the older one's actually taught the younger one what to do to get inside.
Probably. Now, have you've spoken to the neighbours about this problem?
I haven't. As I said, they're really beautiful people, and I don't want to sort of offend them or anything,
Well, I think it to the extent that you've, given us a call and seeking a solution shows, good intent. And I think that's a really important message to convey. And I really applaud you for taking that kind of approach rather than just, leaving them a note or yelling over the fence. But you did hit on one of the problems that's occurring is that the dog's behaviour is being rewarded. And so there needs to be some intervention that happens. And this is obviously where I was saying if you speak to them and talk about the problem in the sense that, maybe we could even emphasise the anxiety part or the dog's getting closer, then, the problem will continue until something changes.
Yeah,
so
we had we've got two dogs ourselves, and we taught them from a very early age. And it didn't hurt them, but we had some water in a spray bottle, and when they barked to try and come inside, we just give them a little bit of a spray on the face. And that stopped them completely.
Yeah, we've seen that used in the past. I don't know that it's used as much now. It's kind of an aversion therapy. It's certainly a low risk. And a lot of the time what we try and do, but the difficulty is, of course, that we've got two dogs. It's hard enough with one. Plus it's your neighbour's dog. So a lot of this advice, well, the good news is they can also listen to the podcast.
That's very
Pet Chat.
Hey, that's very true. You can say, look,
send them the link once this gets up on the website.
Yeah, 2nurfm.com.au.
Yeah. So using aversion therapy sometimes could work, but the problem is if there's two of them, then it's quadruply hard, I think. And so I would actually go back to the thing I was saying earlier, is that their behaviour is being rewarded. Oftentimes when I talk to pet owners, they don't realise how they're communicating to their pet. It's like we were saying earlier with Helen, when you come home, by ignoring the pet for a while, they kind of don't celebrate the fact that you're returning.
They think, it's just normal.
Yeah, and in this case, these dogs have been taught, hey, bark long enough.
And you can come inside.
You'll get inside. And so whether that's the reward is being inside, how can we change that? Is it the timing? Can we change that? What other things can be done to keep them happy outside together?
Okay. Well, good luck with it, Patrick. You're obviously a lovely person. It sounds like your neighbours are as well. So maybe it needs to be come over for a cup of coffee and let's have a bit of a chat. So it's hard. It is hard, but everyone needs to live harmoniously.
And it's better if these things are dealt with in this way early before it does, get acrimonious.
Yeah, that's right.
It gets a bit wearing when the dogs are barking all the time.
Oh, it does. And surely any reasonable person would be able to see that point of view and go, oh, yeah, that's annoying. That's interrupting your day, your life. Well, that's just about it for Pet Chat. We will be back next week. You're back with us, aren't you, David?
Oh, yeah, I'll be here next week.
Woohoo!